said that Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 has made Poland and the Baltic states nervous about their aggressive intentions of the bear next door. Well, that's absolutely untrue, because I've reported to you many times in my many trips to Poland that they prefer Russia over the West. And this goes on to say in 1939, Russia invaded eastern Poland after Stalin and Hitler carved up the country. But this 25-page document by the US-based Atlantic Council, which I have never heard of, says that NATO needs to do more to counter Russia. And this is an interesting quote. It says, "Even if Moscow currently has no immediate intent to challenge NATO directly, this may unexpectedly change overnight and can be implemented with great speed following already prepared plans. The capability to do so to a large extent is in place." Well, that would be suicide for Russia, NATO, and everybody else, and is completely untrue. So they're trying to stir up the muck over here. But here it goes on, interestingly, and says that this invasion, Russia invading Poland, could be the result of NATO being distracted by another crisis. Like what? Like something planned, like a staged alien invasion or something like that? What other, distraction would NATO have? And here's something very telling about NATO, because this says, NATO force in Poland is not required to win the war, but it must be able to fight alongside the host nation forces to buy NATO more time for reinforcement. NATO's presence in the region is currently not large enough to achieve this. Then what's the freaking point of having NATO? If their point is not to win the war, why does anyone have NATO or belong to NATO? It's for protection, right? This is a BS story. And it says, in order to invade Poland, the Russians would have to go through Latvia and Lithuania unless it was able to persuade Belarus, which is pro-Moscow, to give its troop free pass. Well, that's already happened. Belarus is already connected to Russia, and there's not even a border anymore. So, ridiculous point here. And then it says, Poland has traditionally been fearful of Russian invasion. No, they're more worried about Germany. The Polish people are not thrilled with Germany and would rather have Russia than Germany. So this whole article by this so-called, what was it called, the Atlantic Council, a bunch of BS. And here's another story which I found amusing if it wasn't so sad. It says, Malaysian Airlines 370 pilot practiced flying suicide missions on a flight simulator weeks before the airliner disappeared on the same route, so why are we just hearing about it now? You're not, because 1 week after this happened, that was on the news. And we reported on that, that he used the simulator and...
Well, that's what they said he did way back then. So
right.
This
is not news. And it said that pilot Zahari Shah practiced crashing into the Indian Ocean on a simulator, and officials admit that the likelihood of recovering the doomed plane is fading. Not fading, it's like Zippo, because it's not in the ocean, and all those pieces that washed up strategically that they placed that looked like they just were dropped in there yesterday, that's all a bunch of crap, because the plane is in Diego Garcia Island, where guess what? The simulator that they found in his apartment went right over there. And then it goes on to say that the disappearance of MH370 was not an accident, but a mass suicide, meticulously planned by the pilot. Now, this was a New York magazine. They need to get new editors and new writers, because if it was a mass suicide, that would mean everybody on board had planned it.
Right.
It's not a murder-suicide, perhaps, or what do you call it, a serial killing and then a suicide, because a mass suicide means everybody planned it together.
But I think that that's telling, and some of the things I'm going to be talking about. Because,
no, it's telling that it's a freaking lie.
Yes, but listen to me. The mass suicide, to me, this is an imprinting, because this has happened throughout history where there have been mass suicides. So they implant and they focus you and they put these kind of terms out there for people because somewhere along the line they've got a mass suicide plan. That's my feeling.
I mean, honestly, people, the news that I see every day is more and more ridiculous, flubbed up, and they really need better
Maybe
editors.
They don't care. Maybe
much better editors.
Maybe they just feel it's because they're so far into their agenda anyway, it can't be stopped. But I still feel mass suicide is a programming trigger for somebody out there, for people out there.
Yeah.
Do you have more?
I do, but it's at the end.
Okay, so is it my turn?
It's your turn. You may go.
Okay, so I have quite a few stories, and mine, speaking of the show that's being put on for people, I have quite a few actually election stories. Election stories, the national election. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because the first thing I'm going to tell you is I want you to keep in mind that Trump and Hillary are cousins.
Yes, you've said this many times.
Yes, and I'm saying it again. And also they're both related to the Queen. So therefore, it doesn't matter which candidate wins, but what's important is the show that they're putting on for you now, so that you can learn to correctly interpret the imprinting that is happening, such as what you said with the mass suicide. So
I think Hillary should have picked you as a running mate.
Yeah, I would have trounced her. Anyway, so the point being is you know, even on the internet, people who supposedly are in the know, they talk about Trump versus Hillary, blah, blah. Again, it doesn't matter. But we do need to pay attention to the show. So, going on into the convention. This was interesting. Headline news that Donald Trump basked in convention love. So he bragged about unifying the party in one of the most love-filled conventions in political history.
That's why they booed Cruz off the stage, because they were so filled with love.
He said it was peaceful and love-filled. And
I don't think Ted Cruz would say that.
Quote him. This was probably one of the most peaceful, most beautiful, most love-filled conventions in the history of conventions. Unquote.
That's hilarious.
Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we've talked about, or they focus you here and do something else. And this is what all the political people do. They say one thing and they do something else. So then, after he talked about this being love-filled, then he went into a political diatribe against Cruz because Cruz declined to endorse him during his own convention speech.
He was mad at him.
So then he claimed that Cruz had, quote, ruined his political career. And then he said, I feel so bad, he joked, I feel so bad. And then he went on to float a conspiracy theory that suggested Cruz's father had played a role in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
It's not a conspiracy, it's true.
But I'm telling you what he said, that after claiming that this is peace-filled, love, beautiful, blah, blah, then here he goes on. Trump
At least
goes on.
I admit when my family murdered politicians.
There was a picture on the front page of the National Enquirer which does have credibility. He contends the magazine only runs true stories because otherwise any false ones would mean it would be sued. So then Trump went on to address the unflattering photo he posted to Twitter of Cruz's wife Heidi by saying that Heidi was the best thing he has going for him. And then he said Heidi's a good person, but then he said about the senator that he has good intellect, but he doesn't know how to use it. So
he didn't say Heidi ho, because that's what I would have said.
So here we have again, and in my opinion, this is teaching bullying from the highest platform that we have in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So he's saying, oh, this is love-filled, but I can turn around and bully whoever I want, whenever I want. And then he went on to talk about party unity. Again, he's saying one thing, but creating something else.
I have to say something.
Go ahead.
I just realized something.
What?
I had an epiphany.
What is
and it's not even Christmas.
And you know what that word is, epiphany?
No,
that's a big word for
it's
you.
It's a big one.
Yeah, what is it?
I cannot say it again.
Okay.
But a bull was used in ancient time as God, worship a god that represented Nimrod and other ancient gods. Mm-hmm. So all this bullying is leading towards worship of a dictator god.
Okay, I'll let you put that in.
My work here is done.
Okay, but I want, and moving forward, more election stuff. This one is all over the news about Donald Trump air kissing Mike Pence.
I saw that.
Okay, and it said once that happened, it said the Google searches for the word air kiss spiked 2,800%.
Why would I have to Google that?
Because nobody knows what an air kiss
of course
is.
You just
No, nobody knows what an air kiss is.
Of course they do.
I Googled it.
You're not that right.
I didn't know what it was. But this was interesting, and I've got several
I
things.
air kiss you all the time.
No, you don't.
Oh, oh wait, there's a different.
That was a
ending to
real
that.
kiss.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean air. I meant another word. Sorry.
I don't know what you meant, but I
The
may have to
audience will.
Google that too.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
The
Then you'll hurt me.
A couple of things here before I get into the air kids, because this has bothered me. Because I don't know if you remember, but some time back I reported about they actually had Trump and I believe it was Hitler on the same ticket.
What?
It was a joke, so to speak, but they had that blasted all over the internet. Now they have it written Trump and Pence.
Penny. Penny for your thought.
Well, listen, this is because that's been bothering me because I thought Trump-prince, because Trump and Prince instead of Pence, Prince. So we have Trump and Prince.
You're playing with
that's
words
the first.
again.
And then, but the thing that kept sticking in my head is what you just said is trumpets, or
but that's not a word.
I know, but it's got that connotation and the frequency's there. So I looked up the word tuppence, and tuppence actually is 2 cents in British,
There's
money.
the British again.
Right. So there used to be a saying here in the States. I don't know if you ever heard it, but this is like, I wouldn't give you 2 cents for that person. I wouldn't give you 2 cents.
I know. Well, he ain't worth 2 dead flies.
No. Well, anyway, so then I went up to say, okay, let's see what else does tuppence mean. Believe it or not, according to my research, and we'll post the links here for you, the tuppence in the olden day was words for a girl's vagina.
I should wash your mouth.
Got your attention, didn't I? And it used to also be a slang word for money. And then, just so you don't feel left out, apparently it used to say that a man had a winkle. I'm just throwing that out there.
Where do you find this stuff?
In my research.
Yeah, your research.
Anyway, so back to tuppence. So that's what we have. We have Trump and Pence. So now it talks about this air kiss that he did. It said the exchange was between the 2 men who are still getting to know each other, was teased on social media. So really he chooses a vice president that he doesn't know. That makes no sense.
I think he should have full kissed him on the mouth.
Now that's probably coming up next. And it goes on to say that Governor Mike Pence spent nearly 30 minutes singing Mr. Trump's praises, and then Mr. Trump reached out his hand, but that morphed into an awkward air kiss. Is something rarely seen among men in the political arena. An awkward air kiss.
It's kind of European.
Initiated by men. Don't do that in Europe.
Oh yes,
well,
they do.
they do the greeting.
In Russia,
thing,
they kiss each other on each cheek.
But they don't in the U.S. So anyway, then the body language experts, of course, have to get into this thing. And here's a woman named Lillian Glass, who's an authority on the psychology of human behavior, right? She's an authority.
Has she reached her glass ceiling?
It says it shows a completely different side to Trump. It is a more loving, more affectionate, more caring side. Really? So this goes back to our love-filled peace convention we had, right?
Oh, that's hilarious, too. Who writes this stuff?
Apparently Lillian Glass, because it's a quote from her. And then she goes on to say it shows he's not afraid to express his emotions publicly.
With an air kiss?
And he wasn't afraid to kiss another man.
But he didn't.
So that implies if you're afraid to kiss a man, there's something wrong with you. And then it goes on to talk about Mr. Trump and Mr. Pence lacking chemistry.
Mr. Pence, it sounds like a children's...
Tuppence, okay?
Hello, Mr. Pence. How are you today?
So anyway, it says that the air kiss appeared to be a sign that the Republican nominee was happy with his choice. It's like, really? I mean, this is stupid stuff. Then we have another body language expert, Kevin Hogan, that said at a non-conscious level, Trump likely feels an unusually strong familial connection with a vice presidential nominee.
Are they related?
His brash demeanor took aside to what his true feelings are, which is likely to be deep appreciation, a moment of being rescued, and an almost brotherly feeling toward his newest best friend. And again, really, this is stupid stuff, but this is what they're putting out about this air kiss thing.
I want to see Hillary air kiss her choice.
Then, Ruth Sherman, another body language. Well, no, she's a public speaking and presentation consultant, said that it was air kissing as a cultural thing because in the entertainment industry they air kiss each other a lot.
They're all phony. It's phony.
So anyway, she said she surmises that it's a different crowd with Governor Mike Pence, and therefore he was reluctant. But that's why I said they're putting this out there. Everything is a show. It's love-filled, and now he's kissing people.
I think people who air kiss should use a different bathroom.
I think you should add that to your gender identification list.
I think so.
I think it's a good idea,
I'm an air kisser.
I think
I'm an air kisser.
I think that's a very good idea. Excellent. Excellent.
I want my own bathroom.
You could actually, now you could run on President of the United States and use this as your platform.
I should be emperor,
Then-
not president.
Then I'll be your vice president, I'll run you.
No.
Okay, because I'm your handler anyway.
True.
Okay. Now, going on with the Republican National Convention, I don't know if have you ever heard of Laura Ingram?
Wasn't she from Little House on the Prairie?
She's a conservative radio host. Anyway, she gestured to the crowd, momentarily striking a pose reminiscent of the infamous Sig Heil.
I did see that, yeah.
Okay. Now, she apparently seemed to realize midway and stopped, right? But the damage was done because it had been captured by the GIF creation service Giphy, which tweeted the moment that it came out to more than 212,000 followers. So, of course, just to be clear, now here's another word I haven't seen, but they're throwing it out here. Have you seen this one before?
Führerprinzip. Yeah.
You have seen that before?
No.
Okay, well, they're making, again, here's another reference to Nazi Germany with another word they're imprinting you with that nobody's ever seen before, because you know all this stuff, Nazi stuff.
But, you know, when Trump and Pence put their flag out,
Yeah?
it was American flag, but the T and the P they put T looks like a swastika.
Yeah. That's why I said that all this is, you know, Trump's nomination and whatever, it's all filled with Nazi imprinting. So now it says that she did probably not intend to signal her devotion to the Führerprinzip.
Listen to me. I saw what she did, and it was very, very...
Explicit, right?
And meant to be.
Right, exactly. And now another word linking you to Nazis that we haven't heard before. Now, it says, from this moment on, it will likely live on in internet infamy for some time to come, as well as serve of a reminder of the tensions brewing over Trump and his ties to a side of U.S. politics usually associated with more explicitly intentional displays of hateful imagery. So, here we have more Nazism. Then,
Yeah, but look, you know, his daughter married a Jew, his grandchildren are Jewish. I mean, you have to look at that too.
That's right. We are looking at all of these things and how they're all tying together.
Same thing with Hillary. Her grandchildren are Jewish too.
Yeah, and also, this was interesting about the Wizard of Oz and all those red poppies. I don't have this here, but I put on Facebook that Jenna Bush named her daughter Poppy, and George Bush's nickname is Poppy, and poppies are where opium and heroin come from. And they showed the Wizard of Oz.
That's very popular.
Yes, they showed the Wizard of Oz characters in a field of red poppies, and then of course remember all the poppies that they have on the where they had William and Kate putting their poppies down.
Oh, the fake ones, yeah.
Yeah, the memorial to all the dead people. So poppies, poppies, poppies everywhere. So look at the Facebook post. Somebody else started it.
Children call me Poppy.
No, they don't. Somebody else had posted it, but I added my 2 cents. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, back to the convention news and our dear friend Trump. Now it says
our dear friend.
He's our dear friend.
Could we go to dinner with him?
Maybe you ran into him. No, you ran into.
I did run into him a long time ago when he
ago.
was with Marla.
Yeah, and he said
He was very nice to me, actually.
So anyway, I had actually reported on this.
They almost killed her.
I had reported on this a long time ago about Hillary Clinton accepting jewelry from the government of Brunei when she was Secretary of State. Yeah, but he brought it up again, so that's why I'm bringing it up. And he is accusing her of a felony.
Trump is accusing
Hillary of a felony.
Because she took the jewelry.
Yep, and plus millions more for her foundation. And then it goes on to say that the Sultan of Brunei has pushed oppressive Sharia law, including the punishment of death by stoning for being gay.
Who even goes there?
Point being is, she's saying one thing, yet she's taking money from people who are pushing this kind of a platform, anti-Muslim, anti-gay. And then it says that the government of Brunei stands to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of Hillary's Trans-Pacific Partnership, which she would absolutely approve if she was given the chance.
But they don't even do anything
according to Trump. Now, Judge Andrew Napolitano said it would be the first time a presidential candidate this would be the first time a presidential candidate of a major party has accused their opposition of committing a felony. So again, here we go. This is not love and peace filled, right?
No.
Now, more bullying. Now, Trump has given people that he runs against nicknames. So he has Lion Ted, Little Marco.
Little Marco, oh, he's so cute.
And Crooked Hillary.
Well, that's true.
And now he has named her vice presidential pick, Tim Kaine, Corrupt Kaine.
Corrupt Cain?
Because
There might be Cain and Abel.
Trump has been bashing the Virginia senator on the $160,000 in gifts he accepted during his time as governor. However, Kaine never tried to hide the gifts, that they have been publicly disclosed, and it's not illegal. So according to this article, the new nickname is not based in fact, but it says that's not going to stop Trump from using it for the next 3 months. So therefore, again, more bullying. You know, we don't do these kind of things.
How come they give him gifts and not me?
And it's not about peace and love. When you're bullying and saying mean things about people, that's not peace and love filled.
No, it's not.
Now this was interesting because during an interview on Fox News, a man named Thomas Barack, who I've never heard of before. Now get the last name, Barack. Okay, he's a friend of Donald Trump. He's the CEO of Colony Capital, which I never heard of before. But he's going to talk, apparently, about Trump and how wonderful Trump is. And he says the election is about the man, not the messenger. The man and the messenger are the same.
Well, yeah.
Right? And it's what the messenger is going to be. And he talks about, he says, this is not about negatives. I have nothing to say about Hillary Clinton. Nothing negative to say about her. Because the attributes that Donald brings and the change says it all on his own. Then he goes on to say, so the election is about the status quo versus disruption. A minute ago, he says it's about the change. Now he says it's about status quo versus disruption.
A little bipolar.
And he says, what kind of guy is this really underneath? I've known him for 40 years. I've watched him through it all. He's much better than his billing, and we don't ever have to go to the negatives.
But he's talking about Trump.
He's talking about Trump. So I've listed all these things that Trump is saying that are negative.
Right.
How Trump is then talking about it's love and peace filled, and now this guy's saying, oh, there's no negative
And what was
here.
this guy's name? Thomas Barack?
Barack. And the reason I bring that for, because now it's linking, again, remember the subliminals they put out there for people. Barack is president, Trump, Barack. Now they're trying to make this connection on the subliminal
Thomas
level.
Barack was Barack Obama's father. Then Barack Obama would be Barack.
Well, he's not. So, we don't know who Barack Obama's father is, do we?
Yeah, we
really?
do.
Do we really?
We really do know.
So I thought that was interesting. Again, they're linking the name Trump and Barack together to put in subliminally focused people on Trump and president. Then, moving on with Barack, this was interesting to me because Obama's half-brother says that he's voting for Donald Trump, not Hillary Clinton. Now, I saw a couple of different articles, and the first one was titled, His Own Bloods Voting for Trump.
First of all, isn't his brother Kenyan and can't vote anyway?
Well, that was, all of this was kind of interesting amongst, because listen to this story. His name is Malik, is that how you say that?
Malik
Obama. He said that he likes Trump's slogan, to make America great again. He's 58 years old, a longtime Democrat, and he has deep disappointment in his brother Barack's administration. So now he switched his allegiance to the party of Lincoln.
Well, I like this brother.
Listen to this. He said the last straw came when Hillary Clinton was not prosecuted for her things with the email.
Among other things.
And Obama, now this, they don't even call him Malik, they call him Obama, said she should have known better as the custodian of classified information. Then he goes on to say he's annoyed that Clinton and President Obama killed Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, whom he called one of his best friends.
There you go.
And he dedicated his 2012 biography of his late father to Gaddafi and others who were, quote, making this world a better place, indicating his brother is not. And then, because I thought the same thing.
That Muammar Gaddafi was making a better world than his own brother.
And yeah, and he claims Clinton and Obama killed him.
They did.
And then he says, this said about that he used to live and work in Maryland as an accountant. And says it is that he's still a registered to vote there. Now, if he used to live and work in Maryland, which is right next to Washington, D.C.
And the NSA in Fort Detrick,
I would say, who is Malik Obama, really?
Really?
Because now he lives in Kenya, but apparently he can vote from write-in ballot or whatever from Kenya.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so who is he really? And what does he really know, and why is he hiding out in Kenya? That would be my question.
Believe me, you don't want to hide out in Kenya.
Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. This is about NASA finding that our galaxy has an X-shaped heart. Now, of course, X is a hyperspace symbol and heart is a programming symbol. So, this is interesting because the first sentence says, a NASA space telescope and Twitter are two of the technologies that have enabled astronomers to observe a massive X shape at the center of our galaxy. How is Twitter one of the technology?
Because it was part of an alien program of control.
Well, they're linking right here, NASA, telescope, and Twitter, which I thought was totally bizarre. So anyway, but then it goes on to say that it suggests to scientists that the Milky Way did not merge with other galaxies, which is one of the ways that astronomers think the Milky Way's central bulge could have been created in the first place.
But we know that there was at least one galaxy that merged with this one.
And their experts are saying if we understand the bulge, we will understand the key processes that have formed and shaped our galaxy.
The bulge.
It says the Milky Way is about 100,000 light years across. The Earth is about 26,100 light years from the center, and the study, which refers to the X shape as self-evident and irrefutable, was published in the Astronomical Journal. So, thought that was interesting. And then we've talked about the moons, and we've talked about how that now they're naming all the moons, and we've said we've lived a few years, and only recently we've heard about the blue moon. Now we're hearing about so many different
harvest moon.
Well, the harvest moon we grew up with. And the blue moon we grew up with. That's kind of it. And then the last time I talked about the moons, it says the tribes named their moons. Well, who are the tribes? Okay, people think, okay, tribes, Native Americans, but who are the tribes that did this?
Who are they?
They don't tell us that. But then they go on in the article to say, according to the Farmer's Almanac. Now, again, the Farmer's Almanac has been around for hundreds of years.
And more accurate than the Weather Service.
So who's going to refute the Farmer's Almanac, right? So apparently every moon has a name. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because, in my opinion, this is, again, setting you up for ritual. So they're talking about moons, and you need to know the names, and probably they're going to have the kids in the elementary schools drawing the moons and giving them names, because this is preparing them for rituals that take place at the time of the full moon.
Right.
So, according to this, in July we have a buck moon. Okay?
Are you sure you got that first letter right?
That's what they said. January's full moon is now called the full wolf moon.
A wolf moon?
It's an ode to those scary howling wolves. February is the full snow.
Oh,
and listen to this one.
What a great name for that.
But think of ritual things. March's moon is called the full worm moon.
Full worm?
Worm.
Where did they get that from?
Because they said it's a time that the ground begins to thaw and worms come out to play.
Not in Michigan.
Excuse me.
Not in March.
I just think it's so bizarre.
You really need to stop smoking those cigars.
I know, and better than I was last week, but I still have that little tickle.
And all that, what do they call that?
I don't know.
I think you smoked it with the big, I forgot the name of it. I did that in Jordan.
Oh, the water pipe thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that. April is called the pink moon. May is the full flower moon.
So it's for gay people?
The pink moon?
Yeah.
Well, girls like pink.
And? Never mind, it's a joke.
It's
Never
not
mind,
funny.
just keep going.
May is the full flower moon. June is the strawberry moon.
Strawberry moon?
Sturgeon moon is in August, because that's the fishing season, and everybody goes fishing.
I like sturgeon.
Everybody goes fishing for sturgeon, right?
Right.
September is the harvest moon. Then the hunter's moon in October. The beaver moon in November. December is the full night's moon.
Wait, what's November?
Beaver moon.
Oh.
And that's a slang term for it.
Yeah, hello.
So that's what I'm telling you. These are setting people up for ritual.
My birth month is a beaver moon?
It is.
I shall not have it.
I can make a comment, but I won't. Ritual, ritual, ritual.
And what was December?
Full night's moon.
Full night's moon.
Now, speaking of setting people up for ritual, I don't know if you saw this, but in Pensacola, Florida, they had a city council meeting that was actually opened up by the Satanic Temple of West Florida member David Suhor. He delivered the invocation inside City Hall. Now, the Pensacola City Council traditionally begins its meeting with Christian prayer. But if they said if
not fair.
Mr. Suhor said if they didn't let him give the opening prayer, that he would sue them. So they let him in.
But did he want his own bathroom?
He said, and then this was interesting because The person who let him in, I guess this is the council, the guy that ran the council meeting, said, if you deviate away from what I feel is a proper invocation speech, I will have you removed from the chamber.
I shall have you removed.
Okay, so he shows up in a hooded black robe. Now, is that proper? Because I don't think the Christians do that.
Well, have you been to the Vatican?
Well, and they're red robes. And white, I guess. But anyway, so then there were protesters who stood up and tried to drone him out with the Lord's Prayer. So the guy said, to the
God,
guy,
my shepherd, I shall not want.
That's not the Lord's Prayer.
It isn't?
No.
What is then?
Our Father who art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
That's better.
Thy kingdom come, thy will
Anyway,
be
that's
done.
enough. Listen. So they tried to drone out with the Lord's Prayer, but so they had to remove a lot of these protesters from the building. So anyway, then Mr. Suhor delivered his address, which spoke about, quote, arcane doctrines born of fearful minds in darkened times, and concluded with the words, quote, Hail Satan. Mm-hmm. Okay, now that sounds like, what we would include in a prayer, right?
Sure.
So then afterwards he returned to the council meeting to say he didn't believe any prayer belonged in the city council.
The Satanists.
The Satanists did. And he said you should just give people a moment of silence and need to invite everybody and drop the charade of prayer.
So he did show a point.
Yes, but the point is still, this happened in the city hall, and they allowed us to
But you know what? It was Florida.
Then we want to go into the transgender bathroom law. This is just a short little article. The National Basketball Association pulled the 2017 All-Star Game out of Charlotte, North Carolina because of their bathroom bill. But he said they might return in 2019, quote, provided there is an appropriate resolution to this matter.
Because basketball players need their own bathroom.
Yeah. And it said the league says the law discriminates against transgender people who wish to use bathrooms and locker rooms of their preferred gender, which is to say the opposite sex. So, anyway.
It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And then cannibalism, I've been telling you about that.
They need their own bathroom. They need their own bathroom.
Cannibals.
Yeah.
Cannibals, yeah, I agree.
Because they could bite some parts that you want to keep.
Well, and then you don't want them to eat you
while
you're in there.
Well,
that could be not so nice.
You can use that in different ways.
I know. Anyway, Neanderthals now they're claiming practice cannibalism. It said that there's new research coming out of Germany that said that markings on bones that were found in a cave near Belgium show evidence of butchering. They said not only butchering, but it said they skinned, cut up, and extracted the bone marrow. Mm-hmm. Now listen to this. This indicates that the Neanderthals practiced cannibalism, but they also claim that the butchering could have been not for food, but guess what? Part of a ritual. So again, ritual this or ritual that.
I don't think they were cannibals.
They're saying a long time ago they're finding a lot of things. I remember I reported on this shaman, the way they were buried, it was because of ritual. So this word ritual is being imprinted upon you. Mm-hmm. They're telling you all the older people did it, so therefore it's in history. Mm-hmm. Therefore you should be doing that too. And then, this was reported, just so people might want to know, in the Journal of Scientific Reports. And then, this is what we have been saying for years and years, that scientists are now claiming that pigs, their genome is almost identical to humans.
Well, where did you see that before?
They said that swine are adaptable, easy to seduce with food. That makes them real human-like, right?
That's
I think any animal is seducible with food, mm-hmm. and susceptible to domestication, just like humans. This was published in the Journal of Nature and showed pigs suffer from the same genetic and protein malfunctions that account for many human diseases, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and obesity.
And they need their own bathroom too.
It said
pigs
that
must have their own bathroom.
I agree with that one. It said swine's genes could unlock new treatments to combat those devastating illnesses. And then the next article about the scientists are now creating a human pig embryo.
Too late, it's already done.
And they said that now after 28 days...
Remember the Seinfeld had Pig Man?
They have to destroy, and even in some of those things, they have to destroy it after 28 days.
Right, of course.
Because they're concerned that it could become a pig human.
Oh, duh. They just made it.
And remember those books that we were reading that Albert Rosales, he even writes in there about people who've seen pig humans, right?
Hey, I dated some.
Anyway, they said that they're talking about how they can use them to grow the internal organs, blah, blah, blah. And then it said, I reported on this, in September last year, the U.S. National Institute of Health said it would not back research into chimeras. until it knew more about the implications. However, it said, because supposedly the U.S. National Institute of Health says it fears the presence of human cells could affect the animal's brain and behavior, potentially making it more human. So anyway, this reproductive biologist claims, Professor Pablo Ross, that there is a very low potential for a human brain to grow.
Well, you just go outside and see that.
He says, our hope is that this pig embryo will develop normally, but then there will be other organs that they can use and compatible for
I hope they let it live.
transplantation. So they're looking for the pancreas.
Pig boy.
And the, what's the other things? The heart, liver, kidneys, lungs, and cornea. So anyway.
What would we call a pig boy?
The whole idea of making chimeras, mixing different animal species or human animal, has been around for decades. So it goes on to say...
I hope they make a human scorpion embryo.
They might.
Like me.
And then, again, going on to programming. Now this was interesting because this Disney princess in the cartoons has been a recurring theme for many years with Disney princess over and over. And of course we have written in our 13Q book about princess programming.
Right.
And of course we talk about that a lot in our videos and etc. So now there's a person out there known as, quote, the nameless doll. Now when people don't use their real names, there's a reason. We use our real names, right?
Yeah, I don't like my real name.
But it is our real name.
I'll change it.
Anyway, so now this nameless doll has redrawn plus-size women, and they said that these plus-size women, these princesses as plus-size women, they should put plus-size...
She's a big princess.
princesses in the films. And it says that she's known, or whoever this person is, he, she, my guess it's a they.
Does the big princess need her own bathroom?
Is known for, probably, because she doesn't know what she is.
Nobody else could fit in there.
Is known for her imaginative skills and taking...
She'd have to go with the pig boy.
Disney princesses and mashing their plot lines, giving them fins, and doing all kinds of other cool stuff.
Fins.
Fins, F-I-N-S, giving them fins. So I thought this was
like
interesting.
a mermaid.
I don't know, it just says fins.
Mermaids need their own bathroom, but they could just go in the ocean.
In the ocean, because they're right there. You know, just
yeah,
like go to
but they have
sea.
to go in a specific part of the ocean just for
Gender.
mermaid poop.
Yeah, I think you're right. I heard that. I read about that in my research. Anyway, so that was the first story. Then it goes on to say, this was interesting because I kind of reported on this before. There's a new Disney film out. It's called Moana.
Moana?
Or Mona.
Moana? She was down a block, I know her baby daddy. Moana.
Because she is probably going to be moaning.
Moana, her twin sister's mesothelioma.
Your luck. Moana will be the first Disney princess without a love interest. And remember, I reported before that the 56 gender identification people want to have a Disney princess.
The who?
The 56 gender identification people. That's how many there are on Facebook, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, they want to have a...
That's also their IQ, by the way.
They want to have a female Disney princess. I guess because now you can have a male...
A female...
Disney princess who has a love interest who is something other than a man.
So, a lesbian princess.
Well, no, because there's 56 different gender identifications now.
So, like, maybe they want a pig boy.
I don't know. But the point is, now this to me is a step, because this is the first time a Disney princess has not had a love princess, or a love interest. So first of all, it is only love interest. Now it's no love interest, and then the next phase will be, what will the love interest be?
Well, maybe she's an androgynous.
But you know what? They could do actually 56 different films with her doing 56 different love interests with 56 different people.
You go on.
And that way everybody would be happy, and there would be nothing politically incorrect about this woman anymore, or this princess.
I like Moana.
So, anyway, but you'll like this one because the story is she's the daughter of a chief. She's a navigation expert. She's 16 years old, and she sets out for
child abuse then.
For an unforgettable voyage in the South Pacific Ocean. She gets a pig named Pua.
I told you there was a pig boy. I knew it.
Pua.
Pua?
Pua.
I think that's what he do.
And Hey, the chicken. And
Hey.
And a demigod.
Hey.
A demigod Maui.
I'm really going to be in so much trouble after
So
this
here we have a demigod. Remember, I just told you about ritual. So now she's got a demigod.
Ah.
Okay?
And what's his name?
Maui.
Maui. That's an island in Hawaii.
Anyway.
So she's in love with an island.
Now, you're going to like my next story.
There's another story.
There's actually two quick stories.
Okay.
Do you remember when we spent New Year's Eve, a few New Year's Eves ago, watching Naked and Afraid.
Yes.
Yes. Now they have a story out
And
called...
we were naked and afraid.
Now they have a story out called Dating Naked.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, the other was they remember how to survive.
Yeah.
Now they have
Those are stupid people.
Now they have to date naked.
They to go on a naked date.
Yeah. And then, so that there's that one.
Well, doesn't everybody? I mean, eventually.
I don't know, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. And then they have another story out there called The Runner, where this guy is running and then people have to find him.
Is he naked?
They didn't say. But the people have to find him, and then once they find him, they get money. But the point is that people are calling...
It's like Pokemon Go, isn't it?
Well, to me, it's like people reporting on other people. That's what the imprinting is. So I thought that was interesting. So those are the end of all my most fascinating stories.
I want to meet Moana and Pua.
That's enough. So what's up next? What's up?
They had a baby together.
What's up? Next is our September event. September Spectacular, where we have a tremendous amount of fascinating information.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be about new aliens, right?
Yes.
New aliens, new world history. It's old history, but it's actually new.
No. It's history I have not ever
so it's
spoken
new.
about.
It's new old world history. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be talking about radionics, which people are very fascinated with. And you can even get your own box built and have it shipped here, and you can use it during the class if you want. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking...
But the difference is I will be demonstrating the triangle pyramid box.
How?
I can't tell you.
Well, that's my concern.
You should be very...
I'm very concerned, actually.
Yeah.
So...
Let's just say you'll need your own bathroom after that.
Maybe we'll just give everybody a little pot. And then they can each have their own... Because if we have...
You want to give them pot?
Because of each people, a chamber pot,
mm-hmm.
and that way they'll all have their own personal bathroom.
You tell them to give them pot, but a lot of people will come.
But you know what? We could actually assign them. They could go out in the ravine, and then that way they'd have their own personal bathroom. And we would, and if you, no matter what your gender identification is, you will have your own personal bathroom. If you go out and take your chamber pot to the ravine, it'll be yours, and you can do whatever you want with your own bathroom.
You just got to be careful of the
snakes
and the
pigs.
Weasel that was running around
and the pigs
and the pig boy.
Yeah. But anyway, so you can do that. So, and I don't even remember what all our other fascinating stuff is, but there's a lot. Yeah. And we always have a lot of fun, right? Because we never know what Stewart's going to do, and I have to usually keep him in line because I'm his handler. So just remember that when you come, so to speak.
Yes, and actually I do have my own bathroom.
You do?
I actually
because
do.
I gave you your own chamber pot.
I have my own bathroom.
And he uses it out in the ravine. And he can be whatever gender he wants that day, or that moment, or each time he uses the chamber pot.
Or I just might be a pig boy.
Might be. Is that when you put that pig nose on and you run around making those noises?
Maybe.
And the tail?
Don't talk about my tail.
Where do you put your tail? Front side or back side?
If they
front side or back side? Where does the tail go?
That's what they will find out.
Really? With the triangle box thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's our first big event.
Yes, it's
September. And then what's our next big event?
Then immediately after, I have to go to Italy, Belgium, Holland, and Germany.
So we're starting to post that information on the site now. Please watch. We have a lot of people inquiring already. So go ahead and send your inquiries to customer support at expansions.com, and we'll get you directed to the correct person until we get everything on the site. So hopefully within the next week that's going to happen. Oh, we forgot to bring the Hyperspace Plus. Pretend I'm holding the Hyperspace Plus.
Well, you showed them last week anyway.
I showed them 2 weeks in a row, but if they don't have it yet, you're really missing out. Actually, they are all sold out. I have none to show you, so just have to pretend there's a Hyperspace Plus I'm showing you. But it's an amazing new book.
And then in October,
yeah,
I have the conference in Tucson.
Yeah, Transformational Shift.
Yes, make sure you put the F in there.
Yes, Transformational Shift. Stewart puts the F in freak.
I put the F in everything.
Yeah, so shift.
Everything.
Transformational Shift.
Then I'll be going to Chile, where I hope it isn't Chile.
But maybe that'll give you chiles to eat.
That would be good.
Because you do like chiles.
Yes, and then from there I am going to the conference in Poland, which is our joint conference, Expansions and Speedstar.
And you remember the name?
Yes, it's called Exposing Truth Conference.
And who's going to be there?
But, you know,
Butt? They're going to be
I
butts
named
there?
it exposing
Your
for
butt will be
a
there.
reason.
Get your butt there.
I will be exposing more than just the truth.
Get your butt there. You might be able to see his tail.
It will be on October 29th, 2016.
I'm channeling you. Get your butt there.
This is serious. This is October 29th, 2016.
Sirius is up there in the
In
sky.
Warsaw.
This is what I go through every time that you tell. Every time I'm trying to talk, this is what I go through.
Don't sip on your
Sirius is up
vodka
there.
that you had.
Oh yes, the Sirius people came.
It will be at
This
the
is what I
literary
go through,
house.
people.
I really
See
need
how
to
he
tell them
likes
about
it?
this.
See? I hear
You could tell.
there's somebody in your stomach growling.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it's a
my
troll that you
symbiont.
ate.
It's my symbiont who's getting angry for you interrupting.
Yeah, because this is what I have to put up with every week. Go ahead. I'll be quiet, I promise.
Because you're
Throw away the
disrespecting
key.
the people that I'm going
No,
to be talking
disrespecting
about.
is not a verb. I'm sorry. Disrespectful. You can be disrespectful of something. Disrespecting is not a verb. Start again.
And it will be at the Literary House in the old city of Warsaw.
What will be?
The Exposing Your Truth Conference.
Exposing what?
I will be speaking.
You're going to be exposing
we will
your
be
what?
Also Isvan Lokser, Farah Yaduzu from Turkey, Alfred Weber will be coming, and of course Magnus Olsson from Sweden. So it's going to be quite an amazing conference. In November, after my big birthday that I'm still waiting for you to send in all your presents for, there's a possibility, somewhat, of doing a week-long class in Australia. So we'll see about that, and I'll keep you updated as that time goes up.
That's it?
That's it.
How about our January class?
Well, I only went up to November.
January 2017. I already have people signing up for the January 2017 class. That's our biggest, most intense class we do every year. It happens one time a year right here in Michigan.
Right.
And we have people signing up already.
Bring a shovel.
So, if you want to have our biggest, most intense class, January. A lot of people are excited about our September class because
I'm excited about my September.
that is a fabulous class filled with a ton of research that we've been working on for this last year. So both of those are posted on the site. We are getting all these other events up. And of course you want to go to October to see what Stewart's going to expose in Poland.
I will be exposing things in Poland. Maybe that will be the day the Russians invade.
Maybe, but you speak Russian and your last name's
But
Russian, so that's a good thing.
They like me. So,
Sverdlov. Remember that name.
And once they
Sverdlov.
know who I am, they will rescue everybody who's in the room with me. Yeah. So anyway, sorry that you had to witness Janet's moments of insanity. I live with it daily, so just so you got a little taste of it. And that's why I'm very inappropriate and politically incorrect most of the time. I'll see you next week.